Our next guest is an actor who's been entertaining us for decades, but now he's out with something a little different.
Kyle MacLachlan earned a Golden Globe for his role as FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper in Twin Peaks.
And, of course, he went on to play Trey McDougal in Sex and the City and the mayor of Portland in the long-running comedy Portlandia, just to name a few.
Well, now Kyle's latest role is as podcast host. In Varnum Town, he teams up with an investigative reporter to learn how a small southern town got involved in smuggling drugs in the 1980s. Good morning.
Good morning. What a nice introduction.
There you go.
This is a little bit different than what we're used to seeing you in. Now we're hearing you in this podcast.
Yeah.
Now as an investigative journalist. How did you get involved in this?
Well, you know, I've sort of cornered the market on characters who go into small towns and investigate unusual stories. So it's not much of a departure.
Yeah.
A friend of a friend told me a story about a small town, rural town, coastal North Carolina, that made a deal with Pablo Escobar and his cartel to smuggle drugs in from the ocean through into the country. Wow. And I said, I've never heard of this story. And we shot Blue Velvet in Wilmington, 60 miles away.
Yeah.
We had no idea about this story. And I said, well, you have to follow this up. So I reached out to my friend Josh Davis, who is an investigative reporter and has a lot of experience. And I said, we got to go track down the story. So that's how it started.
Wow.
And I mean, people are raving about this, but what's interesting is, you know, there's so many podcasts out there. You got to do something to differentiate yourself.
Yeah, true.
And you've been on social media, and something you did kind of went viral. Lord posts a bunch of these pictures. You recreate them.
Yes.
And people went nuts.
Wait, that is so funny.
Well, yeah. Yeah. It wasn't completely me. I had a little help. I collaborate with the team. But it was really in an effort to promote the podcast, you know. And so I said, this is going to be a fun way. So we collaborated. And she was a great sport. She responded and said, I'm speechless, which was very funny. So she took it in good form. So
That's cute.
I just started the podcast yesterday. It's actually quite fascinating. I'd never heard of the story either. I thought it was...
You're from South
Carolina? South Carolina.
Are you?
Yeah,
wow, okay.
Yeah. We wouldn't have allowed this in South Carolina. This sounds like North Carolina.
Only North Carolina.
Right. In addition to that post, by the way, you're pretty active on TikTok. You're pretty active on... But what does your 15-year-old son think about all of your social media activity?
He's my arbiter. You know what I mean? So he says, if it's cringy, then I failed. But for the most part, I think he's pretty supportive.
I love that. I love that.
Never cringy.
We have to ask, so on IMDb, it says your nickname is Kale.
Yeah, so way back in the Dune days, I auditioned and I met Dino De Laurentiis. He was the executive producer of Dune. He couldn't pronounce my name. He called me Kale. And so David Lynch really liked that idea.
Oh, that's funny.
So from then on, this is from 1983, he called me Kale.
I love it. And you wore a Kale costume years ago for Halloween.
I got to support.
You got to.
Oh, wow. You leaned in.
You got to lean in.
all in.
The problem with this costume, not to get too graphic, but kale, after a few hours outside the refrigerator, doesn't smell very good.
Wait, is that real kale?
Oh, yeah. That's hot glued onto that sweatshirt. Right?
Wow. It's like
I'm very
Lady it's like Lady Gaga's meat costume.
I know, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Which kale, I hope, would smell better than the meat. But going back to your Dune days, I was reading that Sting actually taught you how to play a couple of his songs.
He did.
Wow.
We were working on Dune together, and he was about to go on his Synchronicity tour. And he, of course, Roxanne and Message in a Bottle, two of my favorites. And we sat down one day in his dressing room on his couch, and he showed me the chording for these, and I was like, this is pretty awesome.
Can you still play it?
Maybe.
Well, let's bring it out. We got a guitar. We got a guitar. No. So Kale, you've been in so many different shows, including Sex and the City. You ever wonder what Trey would be doing now?
Oh, I know exactly what he'd be doing.
What, really?
He'd be still living with his mom, Bunny. They'd have their own show, the Bunny and Trey show, and it would be very popular on HBO.
I like it. Actually, that's kind of not a bad idea.
I'm trying
I was going to say, you're pitching this, aren't you?
Yeah, this is a great idea. Well done. Kyle, thank you so much for being here. It was so nice to have you. The first episode of Varnum Town from Podcast One is out today. Be sure to check it out.
It's worth to listen.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.